This is another ticket to recovery.
Today, the Morrison government announced that from April to July, they'll implement a $1.2 billion stimulus plan to pay for 50% of your airline ticket.
800,000 tickets to ride.
We want to get more Australians visiting this wonderful country.
You can't fly just anywhere though. The discount tickets are limited to what the government says are the initial 13 key tourism regions. The Gold Coast, Cairns, the Whitsundays and Mackay, the Sunshine Coast, Lassiter and Alice Springs, Launceston, Devonport, Burnie, Broome, Avalon, Merimbula and Kangaroo Island.
13 initial locations. The key word there is initial.
Welcome news indeed for those places.
The Australian tourism industry needs more tourists.
And Virgin and Qantas are chuffed.
This is great news for Qantas, but particularly for Qantas employees. Great news for Australian aviation.
Now it's up to us.
We want Australians to do their patriotic duty, get out, book a flight and take a holiday.
But some Aussies reckon a better patriotic duty would be to look after all sectors and regions of the industry.
This isn't a tourism package, it's a selective aviation package. There's nothing in this package for tourism operators. If you're a tourism operator anywhere in Australia who's been relying upon JobKeeper to keep your doors open, in just a couple of weeks, you're about to lose that support.
There is absolutely nothing in this package that supports our capital cities. Our largest employers in Sydney and Melbourne will have to start laying off staff. And unfortunately, today's announcement has meant government has backed the waiters and the cooks of the sky versus those on the ground.
Our business and travel business in general, there's absolutely nothing there at all.
And looking at the 13 locations, a sceptic might say that it looks like another case of coalition electorate pork barrelling.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, just look at the map. The government's chosen quite a lot of marginal seats that rather enjoy the taste of salted ham. Oh, and only one safe Labor seat got a nod. What do you say, PM?
I'd say it's absurd.
With everything this government does, they always look at one thing, and it's not who needs support the most. It's not regional economic development and priorities and how we go forward. It's the electoral map. It's the electoral map.
So, today hasn't exactly been plain sailing.
Because planes in the air equals jobs on the ground.
Well, Jason CRONSHAW runs fantastic Aussie bus tours in the Blue Mountains and has battled through bushfires and, of course, now the pandemic. Jason, thanks for joining us. The Blue Mountains is nowhere near any of the 13 locations. How do you feel about that?
Completely devastated. I cannot believe that the government has overlooked an area that, when the borders were open, was one of the most visited destinations in Australia for international travellers, and we still haven't recovered. They think domestic tourism has replaced it. We're a long way from that, and still now to not get support after JobKeeper ending is just completely devastating.
Can I ask, do you have any theory on the particular locations that were chosen?
I think some of it is that there's been strong lobbying from some areas. Some areas definitely need support because international travel hasn't arrived and hasn't been there. Domestic travellers hasn't replaced that. But then areas such as the Blue Mountains missing out, I just can't understand. So,
Jason, just if you can, talk us through just how tough the last 12 months has been for your business.
It's been incredibly tough, you know. Like we've made redundancies, including a redundancy of somebody who's been with us for 22 years. We've started selling off assets to stay alive. So we've sold 3 vehicles so far. We've put 2 more on the market. So, you know, 47 years we've been here in the Blue Mountains, but never seen it as tough as it is now. And we're losing money. Like, we've lost a lot of money. We're losing money even with JobKeeper. So now that the federal government has said all along we're going to have specific programs to help into the future, I don't know what we're going to do into the future, really, in the coming months.
Oh, that's really hard to listen to, Jason. You are looking down the barrel of JobKeeper finishing soon too, and $1.2 billion is a lot of coin. What else do you think the government could be doing for you with this money?
The government's done a lot of help across a lot of industries, but now the tourism industry, specifically with people who have missed out so far, like the long-distance tour and transport operators and the attractions industry, the attractions that aren't getting the visitation. It's just we need specific tailored help right now to ensure our survival, because if we don't get it, when the borders open, there won't be tourism industry left to have a good visitor experience when people come back.
Jason, hang in there. We're thinking of you and we hope Australians are there with your company soon to support you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thanks.
Now, Steve Price is here too, and he has some strong emotions for a change. Pricey, we've got one WA location here, yet 3 in Tassie within an hour of each other. Why would the government leave so many regions out of this?
Chris, this scheme is just a mess. I mean, it looks like the airlines have drawn up this package on the back of an envelope. They've then handed it to Scott Morrison, and he said, "Oh, great, I'll launch this in an aircraft hangar and wave about a fake boarding pass." It makes no sense at all. I mean, there's one destination only in Victoria, Avalon. Victoria is the state that's been hardest hit by COVID. There's one destination only in New South Wales, and that's in Merimbula on the south coast. Beautiful place. I've got to tell you, I didn't even know it had an airport. I know it's got great oysters and beaches, but this package is completely ridiculous, and I'd be predicting that by probably the end of the weekend, latest middle of next week, you'll get a whole lot more destinations added to it.
Pricey, you would hope that there was criteria for this. How do you think that the government picked these places?
Well, I don't think they did, George. I think the airlines did. And what the airlines have said is, look, we're going to offer half-price tickets, so let's fly people to Broome, to Cairns, to Hamilton Island, to the Whitsundays, all long-haul destinations relatively in Australia, and they've left out all of the capital cities. It makes no sense, and I'm not sure about the pork barrelling idea. Maybe there was a bit of that, but I don't think the government have been smart enough to do that, to be honest.
Pricey, I have been named Australia's sexiest vegan, and this smells a little bit like pork barrelling because there's so many of these marginal and winnable seats, right?
Courtney, where you are in Alice Springs is the most spectacular place in Australia, and so is Uluru. So I wouldn't worry myself while you're up there swatting flies and sweating. Just delight in the fact that you're in the Northern Territory, and that's 2 destinations that Scott Morrison's going to give us tickets to.
Look, Pricey, I mean...
I shan't worry my pretty little head.
Pricey, you're basically saying this is an airline subsidy. Could there also be an element of distraction? You know, these 13 locations just being a way of making sure nobody's looking at Canberra?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it is an airline subsidy. But what is going to happen here, it has to happen, I think. We've got to have a JobKeeper scheme that is extended to the aviation business and to places like that business in the Blue Mountains you were just talking to. That's what's got to happen at the end of March. We can't just let the tourism industry fall off a cliff. This $1.2 billion, it's a lot of taxpayers' money, but that's not going to keep those businesses alive and viable.
Well, Pricey, it sounds like there's more work to be done, but we are talking about it, so that's worked. Thanks for your time, mate.
Cheers.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.